Hello and welcome. My name is Vineet Malhotra and you're watching Primetime Asia on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines at this hour. More than 12 civilians were killed in fresh clashes between Afghan and Pakistani forces, according to the Taliban. The fighting erupted after Islamabad urged the Afghan Taliban to crack down on militants allegedly operating from Afghanistan. Former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga, passes away in India's Kochi. He died of a cardiac arrest. Odinga was reportedly undergoing a treatment in India. Kenyan President William Ruto has declared a national mourning following the former PM's death. At least 20 people were burnt alive in a horrific tragedy in India's Rajasthan. A private bus caught fire. The bus was carrying 57 passengers. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the loss of lives. He has said that an ex gratia of Rs 2 lakh will be given to the kin of each deceased. At least 10 people were killed and 18 others injured after fire broke out on the oil tanker MT Federal 2 in Indonesia's Riau Islands province. The blaze erupted while the vessel was docked and undergoing repairs at a shipyard in Batam. China seizes 60,000 maps over mislabeled Taiwan, which Beijing claims as part of its territory. The maps, as per reports, omitted important islands in the South China Sea. China Customs said that the maps also did not contain the 9-dash line, which demarcates Beijing's claims over nearly the entire South China Sea. Ukrainian authorities have ordered the evacuation of 409 families, including 601 children, from 27 villages near the frontline city of Kupiansk amidst intensifying Russian attacks. Meanwhile, blackouts swept Kyiv and other regions after network overloads and damage from previous strikes disrupted power and water supplies. Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa is set to visit Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin, marking his first official trip to Moscow. The visit aims to strengthen the legitimacy of Syria's transitional government following the ousting of the Bashar al-Assad regime in December. Well, Hamas handed over the bodies of several deceased hostages to Israel on Tuesday after Israel threatened to halve humanitarian aid and keep border crossings closed through Wednesday. US President Donald Trump warned that Hamas must disarm or be disarmed as tensions rise despite the ceasefire plan in Gaza. All right, gunfire and explosions shook Pakistan's Chaman district near the Afghanistan border as intense fighting broke out between Afghan Taliban forces and Pakistani troops. The clashes, which lasted for about 5 hours, left at least 4 civilians wounded on the Pakistani side. Pakistani officials accused the Taliban of initiating the attack on a Pakistani border post near Chaman, while Afghan sources claimed that more than 12 civilians were killed and over 100 others injured in Pakistani airstrikes in the Spin Boldak district of Afghanistan. The violence follows a weekend of deadly skirmishes which had already strained relations between neighboring countries. The tensions stem from Pakistan's accusations that the Afghan Taliban is harboring terrorists who stage attacks on Pakistan from sanctuaries across the border. Despite these allegations, the Taliban denies the presence of Pakistani militants in Afghanistan. Listen in to what a few civilians had to say about this.
ټول ماشومان زخمیان روان دي ښځې شهیدان شوي دي یعنې په سل کې 99% ټوله ملکیان دي زنانه ښځې ماشومان څوک شهیدان شوي دي څوک اوس هم پراته دي نو ابتداوي انشاءالله د تامې د دفتر د جپ نشي د ټولو موږ ته امبولانسونه میرویس روغتون ټوله را رسولي دي کار په روان دی امې خدمت کیږي کوم زخمیان چې راځي موږ ته زنانه ماشومان موږ یې کور کوو زموږ سره سرجنان هر څه شته بیا موږ کندهار او د ډیورنډ کیسه باندې پر مخکې چې د انتقامي
عبورې د پردې باندې د دې څخه انتقام واخیستل شو. تېره شپه تقریبا د شپې 3:30 بجې وې چې دوی اول پاکستاني لور د مجاهدین هم دې ته مجبوره کړه چې مجاهدین د دې څخه انتقام واخلي. نو الحمدلله مجاهدین په لوړ میدان کې دي.
All right, Hashim Wadatiyar, international relations analyst, is joining us from Washington, D.C. at this point in time. Hashim, appreciate you being here with us. Well, what do you have to say about these clashes ongoing between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and not to, in fact, miss out the fact that the Taliban foreign minister was in India for over a week, and that too has put in a lot of focus in the way Pakistan looks at Afghanistan?
Well, it's very clear the day that the foreign minister of the Taliban traveled to Delhi, that was the day that Pakistani airplanes bombarded Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, undermining all international rules. This conflict stemmed from there. But it's very vivid that every independent country, and particularly Afghans, have the right and they want to have excellent relationship independently with the countries of the region, including countries of the region and beyond, including India and the United States and other countries that want to have excellent relationship based on mutual interest. I do not think that any countries would stop Afghans not having a relationship with the world, including Islamabad. So what we see on the border clash, it is not only today, it has been for the past decades, 4 or 5 decades since the establishment of Pakistan. This has been ongoing. And I'm confident that it is a time for Islamabad to change its long-standing and beneficial policy towards Afghans. Because Afghans, the other day I was talking to one of my fellow Afghan and he was saying that every single Afghan knows Satan and Pakistan.
Hashim, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for those insights. All right, moving on. Former Kenya Prime Minister Raila Odinga has died at the age of 80 in Kuttutukalam, Kerala. He suffered a cardiac failure during his morning walk at Sri Dharyam Ayurvedic Hospital, where he had been under treatment for the past 5 days. He was rushed to the Devamata Hospital, where his death was confirmed. Odinga had earlier sought treatment in Mumbai following a stroke, accompanied by his youngest daughter and personal doctor. He had a strong connection to the hospital as his elder daughter, Rosemary, had regained her sight after treatment there. Odinga served as Kenya's Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013 and was long-time leader of the opposition as well. On the sidelines, Kenyan President William Ruto has announced a 7-day of national mourning and a state funeral. Let's in fact listen in to Kenyan President William Ruto.
In honor of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's extraordinary contribution to our nation, I have declared a 7-day period of national mourning, during which the national flag shall fly at half-mast across the Republic of Kenya and in all our missions abroad. As a mark of respect, I have postponed all my public engagements for the coming days, and I ask all other public servants and leaders to do the same so that we can join the nation in this period of mourning and deep reflection. Our former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, shall be accorded a state funeral with all attendant honors.
Belly, my colleague, is joining us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Belly, obviously it is a loss, something of course that we've already spoken about, but the fact of the matter is that he did have faith in the medical proficiency of Indian medicine and Indian hospitality as well as Indian hospitals.
Absolutely, Vineet. Raila Odinga, along with his close family members, his a sister was there, his younger daughter was there, and a personal doctor, along with his bodyguard, had come to India on October 4th after suffering a mild stroke in Kenya. And he was initially admitted to an hospital in Mumbai where he was recuperating, and after which he chose to visit some more days in rehabilitation at the Sridhariyam Ayurvedic Eye Hospital here in Ernakulam. And he had come to, he and his family had a close association with this hospital as his younger daughter, his daughter, Rosemary Odinga had regained her eyesight after getting treatment here. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also talked about this on his Mann Ki Baat in 2022, and also at an Ayush summit which was held in 2024 about the remarkable recovery of gaining eyesight of the daughter of the former Kenyan Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. And so this was the kind of relationship the family had with the hospital hospitals here in India. And today morning, around 8 o'clock, he was on his morning walk. Though he arrived at this hospital, Sridhariyam Ayurvedic Center, in a wheelchair, he started showing encouraging signs of improvement in his health, and he was able to slowly walk. And the doctors were kind of rehabilitating him this morning. While all of a sudden, at around 8 o'clock, he collapsed, and he was taken to hospital. There were several attempts of cardiopulmonary resuscitation that was done on him, but around 9:52 he was pronounced dead at the Devamata hospital in Kochi. And as of now, the Kenyan embassy in India has been informed about the incident, and also the foreign residence registration office also have been informed about the incident. And his body is at the hospital awaiting embalming procedures and other formalities, paperwork formalities to be completed for a smooth repatriation to his homeland in Kenya.
Really appreciate you joining us. All right, moving on. At least 10 people were killed and 18 others were injured after a fire broke out on the oil tanker MT Federal 2 in Indonesia's Riau Islands province. The blaze erupted while the vessel was docked and undergoing repairs at a shipyard in Batam, located approximately 20 kilometers from Singapore. Local police confirmed that the tanker was not carrying oil at the time of the fire, and the cause of the blaze is still under investigation. The 28 victims include 10 fatalities, with 18 individuals currently receiving intensive care in local hospitals. Riau Islands Police Chief Asif Sapruddin expressed hope that the injured would survive. Let's listen in to what the police chief had to say.
Peor intención del mundo, a la hora pico, a la hora en que salen las oficinas, a la hora del máximo movimiento de personas. Estos asesinos les van a pagar, más les valdría no haber nacido. Van a pasar una temporada muy larga en la cárcel. Serán tratados con dureza.
Well, a deadly bus fire in Rajasthan has claimed at least 20 lives, and the bus, which was carrying 57 passengers from Jaisalmer to Jodhpur, got fire on a highway after smoke was seen coming from the rear. Although the driver stopped and urged everyone to evacuate, the flames spread rapidly. Police say that most bodies were found in the aisle, indicating passengers tried to escape. 15 others, including women and children, are hospitalized with burn injuries. Officials suspect an electrical short circuit caused the blaze. The bus was reportedly brand new. Local residents and passers-by rushed in to assist with rescue efforts, and DNA and forensic teams are helping identify the severely charred remains. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed grief over the loss and announced financial aid for the victims' families and the injured. He has said that an ex gratia of Rs 2 lakh will be given to the kin of each deceased, and investigations into the cause are still ongoing. Let's listen in.
सीएम साहब क्यों नहीं सुन रहे लोगों की? 11 बजे डॉक्टर नहीं पहुंचे अभी तक। ये हाल है आपके हॉस्पिटलों के। ये सारे आमजन खड़े हैं। 11 बजे आपने ये टाइम क्यों रखा? कोई कह रहा है ना गाड़ी मॉडिफाई की हुई थी, तो क्यों थी? जिस गवर्नमेंट अधिकारियों ने उसकी ओके की स्लिप दी, क्यों दी? क्या देख के दी? जनहानि हमें हुई है और ये 4 दिन मुद्दा उठाओगे आप लोगों को भी, मीडिया को भी बता रहा हूँ। आपकी हिम्मत नहीं है उनको पकड़ने की या उनसे सवाल करने की। ये तो परिवार वाले हैं, आगे हम भी देख लेंगे टीवी में कितनी कार्रवाई करते हो आप। कल हमारे हाथ भी गुजर गया। 11 बजे आएंगे डॉक्टर। क्यों आएंगे 11 बजे? रिपोर्ट कब आएगी?
All right, Myanmar's Janta chief acknowledged on Wednesday, October the 15th, that the military-backed administration will be unable to conduct the upcoming general election across the entire country as a civil war triggered by the 2021 coup continues. Critics in many Western nations view the election, due to start in late December, as a sham to legitimize military rule. Dozens of anti-Janta parties are banned for refusing to participate. Min Aung Hlaing said, and I quote, "We can't hold the election everywhere 100%, adding that by-elections would follow in some areas after a new government is formed. A December census showed voter lists could only be generated in 145 of the 330 townships. Current rules leave only 6 parties eligible nationwide." The Janta has invited ASEAN countries including Malaysia, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam to send observers for the phased election starting December 28th. Well, the Red Cross collects bodies of Palestinians in Gaza's Dar al-Bala, and on Tuesday Hamas moved to ease pressure on the ceasefire by returning more dead hostages. The move comes after Israel said it would slash aid and deliveries to Gaza by half, citing delays in handing over remains. The Israeli Prime Minister's office confirmed authorities received 4 deceased hostages handed over by the Red Cross. The bodies will be taken to the National Center for Forensic Medicine for identification and family notification. This transfer comes a day after 4 other dead bodies and hostages were returned. It remains unclear if Israel will limit Gaza aid to half of the 600 trucks under the agreement. The United Nations and US officials have been notified of the aid cuts. All right, Dr. Emmanuel Navon, International Relations Lecturer at Tel Aviv, is joining us at this point in time. Well, important that we understand, sir, that the entire premise of this ceasefire solely rests on both the parties doing what has been documented, signed and agreed upon. We are already seeing cracks in what Hamas had to do. How is this ceasefire going to last? And do you think that more needs to be done by Israel and perhaps even the Americans to put pressure on Hamas to live up to their end?
Well, unfortunately, it is not surprising that Hamas is already violating the agreement. Today, for example, it was revealed that one of the bodies returned by Hamas was not an Israeli hostage, but a Gaza resident. And of course, Hamas still hasn't returned all the bodies of Israeli that Hamas killed after taking them hostage. So there is pressure already exercised on Hamas. As you mentioned in your report, Israel has already notified that if Hamas doesn't respect the agreement and does not return all the body of the killed hostages, Israel will respond by cutting the humanitarian aid. As for the United States, as you know, yesterday President Trump declared that there will be consequences, very serious consequences, if Hamas does not honor the agreement. So there is pressure being exercised on Hamas. Unfortunately, the violation of the agreement by Hamas is something that is not surprising and that must be handled.
Dr. Emmanuel, stay with us. Syrian Interim President Ahmed al-Sharaa arrived at the Kremlin today for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This marks his first visit to Moscow almost a year after former President Bashar al-Assad was ousted and fled to Russia. Putin described the two countries and the relationship as special, citing decades of cooperation. Sharaa said he wanted to redefine the relationship while respecting existing agreements. Reports suggested that Sharaa may request the handover of Assad, and the leaders are also expected to discuss the future of Russian military bases in Syria. Dr. Manuel, important to understand that Bashar al-Assad is, seeking refuge in Russia, and if Sharaa is demanding that he be handed over to the Syrian authorities, Vladimir Putin will be stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Well, not really, because the ally of Russia historically is not exactly Syria; it's more the Assad family. And without Assad in place, Russia has really lost much of its influence over that country, especially since the interim president Al-Sharaa has been mostly endorsed by the United States as well as by most European governments. So I very much doubt that Vladimir Putin will hand Bashar Assad to the Syrian regime. I think that the refuge he has in Russia is pretty safe at this point. However, even though Putin did lose a very significant ally in the person of Assad, he's not going to give up on Russia's influence in Syria. And of course, Russia's military presence in that country did not evaporate with the end of the Assad regime. So Putin will try to salvage whatever he can of Russian influence in Syria, but I don't believe that he will buy this influence by delivering Assad to the new to the new Syrian regime, because at the end of the day, he's a protégé of Putin and an old ally.
All right, fair enough. Dr. Emmanuel, appreciate you joining us.